Well, you'll have learned from the major news broadcast organisations that Boris Johnson has been tested positive for the virus. I can't bring myself to call it coronavirus because that was a pop when I was a boy. He's been tested positive for the virus. How that puts the cat amongst the pigeons, I am not absolutely sure. What I do know is that we are living through days and days and days of uncertainty. Nobody really knows what the heck is going to happen. And with our leaders going down with the virus, they are less certain days ahead as well. Anyway, not really a news flash because you can probably find it elsewhere, but just those people who aren't aware, Boris Johnson has come down with an illness, with the illness. I hope and I pray that I don't. Just so that you can see this ugly mug come on from time to time and keep you updated along with the rest of my team who are doing a terrific job. Anyway, that's a little news flash, which isn't a news flash. Quirky TV, Mirador Television. I'm Keith Hayes. Bye.
Afternoon. People are certainly heeding the warning about keeping their distance and not going out except for essentials. The Prime Minister, too, has now gone down with the coronavirus. I wouldn't be so churlish as to say he's been hoisted by his own petard. But of course, he will probably be having private health care and therefore blissfully unaware of the onslaught on the National Health Service this virus has caused. There will be a piece later about the fact that the National Health is woefully underprovided with the protective clothing so that it doesn't meet the standards laid down by the World Health Organization. So things are in a pickle, and certainly there are suggestions in some of the more serious newspapers that a coalition government is the only way forward for things as they stand at present. Interesting that while the Conservative Party was anxious to attack the Labour leader, the former Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, for a sort of spendthrift attitude, their ways of dealing with the financial onslaught, this has proved, are spending, of course, much more money without the benefit of any income from the sales tax known as VAT in this country. More interesting, perhaps, is the onslaught on local papers. The Sussex Express is owned by a large company called JPI Media, and they own dozens of titles, but on Wednesday took the step to suspend publication of all its free newspapers, stating, of course, that the challenges of arranging delivery alongside the collapse of the local advertising market are just making it impossible to carry on with those. The move will cut off many self-isolating older readers from a trusted source of news during the crisis, and the government has made it clear that it considers reporters and print newspaper distribution staff as key workers. The editor of the Sussex Express runs a plea in this week's paper, asking you to keep buying it because it needs to keep its position as a source of information, and sales are falling. Newspapers that will cease publication from next week in the JPI group, include the Bedfordshire Times and Citizen, the Milton Keynes Citizen, the Luton Herald and Post, the Northumberland News Post Leader, and the Brighton and Hove Independent, North Tyneside News Guardian, and the Mid-Sussex Gazette. Not the Mid-Sussex Times, the Gazette is the free sheet. The West Sussex Gazette, the Crawley Observer, the Hemel Gazette and the Buckingham Advertiser will also drastically cut their circulations. JPI Media has said it intends to retain journalists at the non-printing outlets to run websites. However, the decision to cease printing raises questions about how long this can be sustained. That's rather a stark warning. Local newspapers have been a fact of British life for some years. They have declined recently in population as an awful lot of stuff, not always true, gets put about online. But more locally, Barclays Bank in Lewes is now only open Mondays and Fridays, 2 days a week, from 9:30 in the morning until 1 o'clock at lunchtime. And the Halifax, down at the bottom of the town, and indeed I think all Halifax branches, are now only open Monday to Friday, 10 until 2. I noticed other banks in the town also closed after lunch today, and doubtless customers of those banks will get emails or messages bringing them up to date. Just a little look now at two scenes in Lewes earlier today. The 18th century market tower, usually the scene of the bustling Friday market, closed, the doors shut. And the precinct on Wednesdays and Fridays, home to a very popular fruit and veg stall, was deserted and the stall was not there, simply because it attracts so many people that it is impossible to maintain the social distancing required. I'll catch up with other stuff later.